Hi guys, this is Jay, and this is my first video about the process I go through when making a custom Gundam plastic model. I have built Gunpla before. This is the 5th model that I built, but only the second one where I will try panel line scribing and airbrushing. Throughout this process, I wish to show builders like me on what kind of tools I use and any issues that I might go through throughout the process. For detailing, I'm actually just gonna do panel line scribing and using a hand drill. I want to improve my skills first before doing much more advanced detailing techniques. First, I will sketch some draft lines on the part. You don't have to use a ruler like I'm doing. Using rulers just help me measure the lines much easier if I need to replicate the lines to the opposite part. You can use freehand because the carving guide tape will help you make straight lines. I roughly measure the panel line by eyeballing the tape on top of the part. Next, I cut the tape. Using an art knife is useful because sometimes I might need to cut the end to an angle. I then use my tweezers to pick up the tape and place it over the line I drafted. You can probably do this faster by skipping some steps, but I find this over-processing more therapeutic. Gunpla is a hobby, so we should enjoy it however we like it. Next, I use the line engraver by lightly following the guide tape to create some guidelines on the part. I do this very lightly, almost just allowing the weight of the blade to touch the part without any pressure from my fingers. This is actually an optional step, but it helps me create much straighter lines without messing up the tape from pressure or impatience. I then use a chisel to start scribing, making sure I relax and hold the blade as close and firmly as I can. I do about 10 to 20 scribing passes with gradual light to medium pressure. It usually depends on the material. Scribe too deep and you'll make a hole. Scribe too light and you won't see the line when you sand and paint. This is something you get a hang of as you keep practicing. When I'm scribing an angled line, I rotate the part itself, trying not to move the hand holding my chisel too much. This way, I make less mistakes. After scribing, I brush away the plastic debris with a toothbrush. Sometimes I need to do this in between passes when there's debris buildup. I then remove the guide tape, and after a little more cleanup, we're done. After panel line scribing, you most likely need to sand your parts. And this is a highly recommended step, especially if you're painting. I actually use different tools for sanding. Gunpla consists mostly of angular straight surfaces, so using hard sanding boards is good for this. But sometimes, Gunpla also have uneven or rounded surfaces, and this is where these sanding sticks come in handy. They can be semi-hard, soft, or even sponge-like. From my experience, using sandpaper on sanding boards lasts longer, and sanding sticks needs to be replaced much more often. Onto actual sanding, I usually start at 400 grit and end at 1000 grit. Depending on the part I'm sanding, I use both short and long strokes. You can actually just use 600 grit alone if you're painting and there aren't any obvious marks on the part. This way, you can finish much faster. Time is important if you build a lot of models. Just from my experience, I get better results when I sand a part using 400, then 600, then 800, and 1000 grit. And that's it for this video. I hope you learned a thing or two. On the next episode, I will go through my painting process using an airbrush. Please bear with the video quality for now because I'm using an 8-year-old camera and the quality is not perfect. I'll try better next time when I get used to this. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank you and see you again.